To follow the storyline, so about 5 years after you've launched, you make these what do you call them, digi tees with the
Digimap?
Digimap, with the I Heart New Zealand, I Huff New Zealand. And before, so we'll get to the Orlando Bloom thing, but before that, these were hot property, right? Like everyone wanted them. They were the shirt that you wanted to wear, and you were already trying to sort of limit the reach of them because it was getting too big.
So that's actually, it's good backstory to that too, because as we talked about, like growing outside of our tight-knit community of quite closed-minded at times, people, it was hard. We didn't want to turn our back on them, but I think one thing that from the beginning and becoming, like immersing ourselves in a culture which was really, created by American culture, skating and snowboarding. It's very American-driven and led by the Americans. New Zealand was always a part of what we did, and I think if you were to, if someone was giving you business advice, it's like mimic what they're doing and do what they're doing and follow the leaders. But we're like New Zealand from day one have always been part of, it was physically on our products. Like we had little mini maps, and even our main logo had a New Zealand map on it. So that was it was quite trailblazing because there were other New Zealand skate companies and they were mimicking, but we had the confidence to put New Zealand part of it as part of projecting who we were. And that felt right. And then I think that was seen as leadership. And then that's when there was interest outside of this community because we stood up for what we believed in and where we're from at a time when I think maybe New Zealand was a bit suppressed, and we were like, you know what, this is who we are. Again, leading from our gut, not overthinking it. And then, so we basically put New Zealand on a t-shirt, and because it was in some of our labeling, like New Zealand maps and NZ, and then we basically put it on a t-shirt. And at the time, you say that now, you go, oh man, there's some weird tourist tee or something. But I remember the Digimap t-shirt you're talking about. I was at Grey Lynn at some party wearing a t-shirt, rolling in and going, man, this is like the coolest t-shirt. But now, wearing it now, it's like, oh yeah, okay. Been down to the tourist shop. But that's because, and without claiming it, I feel like we were like the only ones to do it, or the first to do it. And like, it was a big moment in our culture, I reckon, to really celebrate who we are and where we're from. We obviously had, New Zealand sports and the All Blacks and things like that, but especially in our culture, to really, in street culture and fashion, to really back, when I say typically you'd mimic an American culture, to stand up as Kiwis or New Zealanders or whatever you want to call it, that was quite a movement, and that's what helped like create this massive groundswell of interest from the outside world of this bubble to wanting to get product. So,
do you remember the actual design process? Like, was that you? Like, who came up with the idea? Or was it like a group think, or was it like?
I don't. Just sort of. I actually don't even know. Like, I suppose t-shirt prints are part of skate culture, and you always, you're always releasing new prints, and it just felt right because New Zealand was always part of our visual identity since day one. Not to the point of a t-shirt print, but it just somehow snuck up on a t-shirt and just felt good.
So then 2003 comes along, Lord of the Rings premiere in Wellington. It's like 200,000 people lining the streets.
Yeah. Wow.
And Orlando Bloom, who's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, movie star in the world at that point, wears your shirt. And you get a message from someone saying, mate, you might need to check this out. Yeah,
it's basically what happened. But so we got this groundswell of like everybody wanted that t-shirt, so it's in hot demand, right? And we're like limiting the supply. We're going, wow, we're growing outside the bubble. We're going to protect the bubble. We want to grow, but we want to control it. So that was happening, right? And then, this 2003 event rolls up, biggest thing in Wellington. And then, I was just at work or something. I think it was on a Wednesday or something. I can't remember, but someone says, you got to check this out. So Orlando rolled up in the red carpet wearing, the I HUFFER t-shirt. So we put our logo upside down to resemble a heart. I love New Zealand. Rip off of the, the I Love New York t-shirt to some degree. And I think that's just really quite representative of what was happening. Like, because it was limited, and the timing, and the sentiment, like it was, everybody wanted to get that T-shirt, and that was the T-shirt to have, right? And I think the story goes, and I may not be right, and someone can correct me, but they're wrapping the show, Lord of the Rings, and then I believe that, I think this, I don't know. Well, it sounds good, but the wardrobe person that had a relationship with Orlando was, you know, oh well, Orlando, I'm not going to see you every day and dress you, but I'm going to get you a gift, and it's going to get you that T-shirt because that's the hottest T-shirt in the country right now. It's the coolest T-shirt, and the message on it's perfect. Have the T-shirt. So he goes, oh, cool, I'll wear it on the red carpet, and then because he had a suit blazer, which wasn't really our style at the time, with a T-shirt underneath, a bit Miami Vice, but he put his chest out and basically say to the crowd, I love New Zealand, and point at the T-shirt, and then the crowd would love the fact that Orlando loves New Zealand, and then so he kept doing it, so all the media photos are him pointing at our logo, basically, just going, woo! So I was like, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, people pay a lot of money for those events to try and happen, but we just did it with our head down, and it was just a result of like a situation that was going on. So yeah, I don't like to claim that one but it is a milestone to some degree, because what happened next was a really important part of the story, I suppose. That, you know, the media attention came to us, I suppose. He was on the front page of the New Zealand Herald, and you know, there's not much media around at that time, so everything's very focused. So the whole world saw it because everybody read the paper back then. And then so they come to us, the media comes to us, and like, wow, this amazing opportunity. What are you going to do? We're like, I didn't think. So this is coming back to your gut again. I didn't have to think. I was like, well, we're not going to make that because we're already, you know, staying true to our who we were and protecting our, loyal supporters. And we don't want to over commercialize this opportunity and jump on the bandwagon because, you know, we actually got I don't know how valid it was, but we got an inquiry to buy a container load for Germany or something. It was like, what the?
What's a container load? How many shirts are in a container load?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. What a weird order. So, I mean, and that was a big thing. Then we ended up, I think I was on the front page of the Herald the next day, sitting there outside our office going, oh, yeah. HUFFER declines the opportunity to make it. And we said, no, we're not going to make that. And it became a main story, you know, like I think it ended up in the news as well. I think, you know, there was student radios celebrating and they didn't sell out, woohoo. And then I think, you know, on Talkback, I think maybe even Paul Holmes or something, he's like, what is this New Zealand opportunity turned down or something? So, you know how stories become a story for a few hours in the media? That was the story. And then, but what it did, it communicated to the mainstream audience of New Zealand, how we make decisions. It gave them a look into our business to get them to understand a sense of values that we had. So yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things that happens, right?
It's a good problem to have, right? There's two situations are you make the shirt and you make shitloads of money, or you don't do anything and you're the same, but you've got this sort of good public goodwill that comes on board. I mean,
yeah,
any company would love that situation, I feel like. A Hollywood star promoting a thing, but you've stuck strong to your morals and your beliefs and your conviction. And long run, like looking back now, like you must think it wasn't a hard decision, but it was a genius decision. I don't know how many others.
It wasn't even a decision. It just happened. Like, and that's a good thing. If you can tune into that, then that's good. And then, and what happened from that was this massive groundswell of interest for the brand rather than the T-shirt, which is genius.
Yeah.
You know, it was celebrated. And then people, we saw the next 3 or 4 years just boom, put us on the map. And the right tone too, you know.
Just as a quick interlude, fast forward about 15 years and I might have the timeline wrong. Post Malone puts a shot on his Instagram in a bright yellow.
Yep, bright yellow, super down.
HUFFER.
Yep.
Did those two instances kind of compare in terms of the reaction, or is the Orlando Bloom light years ahead of where Post Malone was?
Like Post Malone, so he just put on he had a Rolls Royce, one of the SUV Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Had the
I feel like that's a little bit out of reach of most people.
No, but it had yellow interior.
Right.
So he used that jacket to, I don't know, create a interesting photo with the yellow Rolls Royce leather and his yellow jacket. Anyway, that happened. But yeah, I mean, that was, that stuff doesn't have the impact that what happened back then. Like that stuff happens now all the time. And like would celebrate that and go, yeah, cool. But I think like real, like
hysteria, is that the right term for Orlando Bloom?
Whereas that's just a show off reel, Whereas if you can create an opportunity to live your values through an event, then I think you can make more impact, Whereas like, oh, some cool dude just wore our stuff and that's cool and that's gonna. I think that's wearing thin. Like these days, especially, I think people are seeing through all that. I mean, we did give him a jacket as a gift when he came to New Zealand through the Universal Music Guys. Just drop off a gift, handwritten note. Hey man, have a good time. And then it eventuated and he wore something that was cool. But so it's a different story to Orlando. But there's a lot of brands that are paying for that, like a lot of money. Well, were. But I think people see through that and what's it really doing? This is show off reel. Where's the grit? Where's the depth? And where's the influence of like why am I attracted to this brand? Where's the realness? I think you'll see over the next few years that stuff will just sort of fizzle away to some degree.